The world knows him as the man with the calm voice, the quiet smile, and the gentle eyes that seem to carry 1,000 untold stories. But behind that peaceful face is a story filled with unimaginable pain. After losing his daughter, Keanu Reeves entered a chapter of life that most people never saw. The world continued watching him on movie screens. Fans celebrated his success. Studios wanted him. Hollywood praised him. But behind that public image was a man trying to understand a pain that had no easy answer. Because there is something people often forget about grief. Grief does not disappear just because the cameras turn on. It does not disappear because someone becomes famous. It does not disappear because millions of people admire you. A person can be standing in front of thousands of fans and still feel completely alone inside. Keanu was experiencing exactly that. He continued working, he continued acting, he continued showing up. But inside he was carrying a sadness that words could barely explain. And then came another tragedy. A few years after the loss of their daughter, Jennifer Syme died in a car accident in 2001. She was only 28 years old. The news shocked everyone who knew her. For Keanu, it was another devastating loss. A person who had shared one of the most painful moments of his life was suddenly gone. The woman who had experienced the same heartbreak. The woman who knew the pain behind his silence was no longer there. Imagine losing someone you love. Now imagine losing them after you both have already survived something impossible. A tragedy within a tragedy. A wound that never fully healed. For many people, a moment like this would create anger. It would create bitterness. It would make someone question everything. Why me? Why did this happen? Why does life keep taking away the people I love? But Keanu reacted differently. He became quieter, more private, more thoughtful. The pain did not make him cruel. It made him understand other people's pain. And that understanding became one of the most important parts of who he is today. Many people know the stories about Keanu's kindness. They know about the moments where he treated strangers with respect. They know about the way he interacts with fans. They know about his simple lifestyle despite his massive success. But what many people do not realize is that his kindness was not created by an easy life. It was created by surviving a difficult one. When you experience deep loss, something changes inside you. Small things become more valuable. A conversation becomes meaningful. A smile becomes powerful. A simple moment with someone you love becomes something you never take for granted. Keanu learned that life is temporary, and because he understood that, he started living differently. While many celebrities chase luxury, attention, and status, Keanu often chose simplicity. He could buy almost anything: expensive houses, luxury cars, spotter clothes. But he was never interested in showing the world what he owned. Instead, he focused on experiences, relationships, moments, human connection, because after losing people he loved, he understood one truth: the things we own are temporary, the people we love are what make life meaningful. But there is another side of Keanu Reeves that many people do not talk about. His journey was not only about tragedy, it was also about rebuilding. Because after losing so much, he still found a way to continue. He returned to his work, he returned to storytelling. And slowly he created some of the most memorable characters in modern cinema. But something interesting happened. The more successful he became, the more people noticed something unusual about him. Keanu Reeves did not act like a superstar. He did not walk around demanding attention. He did not behave like someone who believed the world owed him something. Instead, he treated people like equals. There are countless stories of him spending time with ordinary people, talking with strangers, showing appreciation to fans, giving without expecting anything back. And this raised a question in people's minds. Why is this man so different? Why does someone who has experienced so much pain still choose kindness? The answer may be hidden in the lessons he learned from loss. Pain can create two different kinds of people. Some people allow pain to close their hearts. They become angry. They stop trusting. They build walls. But others allow pain to open their hearts. They become more understanding, more compassionate, more aware of the struggles happening around them. Keanu chose the second path, and that choice changed everything. But there was another surprising chapter in his life. After years of keeping his personal life extremely private, after years of avoiding the spotlight, Keanu eventually found love again. And this time the world saw something rare. A man who had experienced heartbreak, still willing to open his heart, still willing to believe in connection, still willing to love. Her name was Alexandra Grant. The two had known each other for years before their relationship became public. They first connected through creativity and friendship. They worked together on artistic projects. They shared ideas. They built trust slowly. And that is what made their relationship different. It was not built on Hollywood excitement. It was not built on attention. It was built on understanding. Two people who appreciated each other as human beings. When Keanu and Alexandra appeared together publicly, many fans noticed something. Keanu looked genuinely happy. Not like someone performing happiness, real happiness. the kind that comes from feeling comfortable with another person. And for someone who had experienced such deep loss, that moment meant something. It showed that even after heartbreak, the heart can still heal, not by forgetting the past, but by accepting it. Because healing does not mean you erase the people you lost. It means you carry their memory while continuing your own journey. Keanu never forgot Jennifer. He never forgot his daughter. Those experiences became part of him. They shaped his understanding of love. They shaped his understanding of life. And maybe that is why people connect with him so deeply. Because people do not admire Keanu Reeves only because he is a great actor. They admire him because he represents something much bigger. The idea that suffering does not have to destroy you. That loss does not have to make you lose your humanity. That even after the darkest nights, a person can still choose kindness. But the most powerful part of Keanu's story is not just what happened to him. It is what he did afterward, because anyone can be happy when life is easy. Anyone can smile when everything goes according to plan. But who you become after life breaks your heart, that reveals your true character. And Keanu Reeves showed the world something rare. A person can experience unimaginable pain and still choose love. A person can lose everything and still have something valuable left to give. But there is one deeper truth behind his tragic love story. Something that explains why Keanu Reeves became one of the most respected people in the world. A lesson hidden inside all the heartbreak. A lesson about love, loss, and what truly matters. And when people finally understand it, they see Keanu Reeves in a completely different way. The world often tells us that success means having more. More money, more fame, more followers, more recognition. But Keanu Reeves' life tells a completely different story. Because after everything he lost, after every painful chapter, he discovered something that many people spend their entire lives trying to understand. The value of life is not measured by what you collect. It is measured by what you feel, the people you love, the moments you experience, the kindness you leave behind. And maybe that is the biggest reason why Keanu Reeves became more than just an actor. He became a symbol, a reminder that being successful does not mean becoming untouchable. It means staying human. When Keanu entered Hollywood, he was entering a world where image was everything. A world where people constantly tried to prove they were better, richer, and more important than everyone else. But Keanu never followed that path. He built his career differently. He did not create a personality for the cameras. He did not pretend to be someone he was not. The person people saw in interviews. The person fans met on the street. The person his friends knew privately. Was the same person. Quiet, respectful, thoughtful. And that authenticity became rare. Because in a world where many people chase attention, Keanu seemed to value peace. But this mindset did not come from nowhere. It came from everything he survived. When someone loses something deeply important, their entire perspective can change. Things that once seemed important suddenly become meaningless. The desire to impress others becomes smaller. The desire to connect becomes bigger. And Keanu's life shows this transformation clearly. Before tragedy, many people chase the future. They think, when I become successful, I will finally be happy. When I make more money, I will finally feel complete. When I achieve my dreams, then I will enjoy life. But loss teaches a painful lesson. Tomorrow is never guaranteed, the future is never promised. The only moment we truly have is the one happening right now. Keanu learned this lesson through unimaginable experiences. And it changed the way he lived. There is a famous idea in life. You never know what someone is carrying. A person sitting next to you could be fighting a battle you cannot see. Someone smiling at you could be hiding incredible pain. Someone who looks completely fine could be surviving a storm inside. Keanu Reeves became someone who understood that reality. And because he understood it, he treated people differently. Maybe that is why so many stories about him involve small acts of kindness, not dramatic actions, not things designed for attention. Just simple human moments, a conversation, a gesture, a helping hand. Things that many people ignore. But those small moments reveal something powerful. Kindness is not about how much you have. It is about what you choose to give. And Keanu had another reason to understand this. He knew what it felt like to need compassion. To need someone to understand, to experience pain that nobody else could see. And sometimes, the people who know the deepest pain become the people who offer the most comfort. But his story is not only about kindness, it is also about resilience. Because after losing Jennifer and his daughter, Keanu could have disappeared completely. He could have walked away from everything. He could have decided that life was too painful. But he continued, not because the pain disappeared, but because he learned how to carry it. And that difference is important. People often think healing means forgetting. But real healing is different. Healing means accepting that something changed you. And learning how to continue with that change. The scar remains. The memory remains. The love remains. But you learn how to live again. Keanu's comeback in Hollywood became one of the most fascinating parts of his journey. After years of personal struggles, his career reached another incredible level. When he returned as John Wick, many people saw it as a career revival. But there was something deeper happening. The character of John Wick connected with audiences because it represented something Keanu understood personally. A person who loses everything. A person carrying grief. A person who continues moving forward despite unbearable pain. John Wick was fictional, but the emotion behind the character felt real, and maybe that is why Keanu played him so powerfully, because he was not just acting. He understood what it meant to keep going after loss. He understood what it meant to wake up after a painful chapter and still move forward. That is something no acting lesson can teach. That comes from life. But there is another fascinating part of Keanu's story. Despite becoming one of the most recognizable actors on Earth, he never allowed fame to control him. Many celebrities build their identity around being famous. They need attention. They need constant approval. They need the world to remind them who they are. Keanu seemed to find his identity somewhere else. Not in popularity, not in wealth, not in public opinion, but in being a good person. And that is a powerful lesson because fame is temporary. Money is temporary, matters is temporary. Everything outside of you can change. But your character, the way you treat people, the choices you make when nobody is watching, that is what remains. Keanu's life also teaches something important about love. Many people believe a tragic love story is one where two people stay together forever. But sometimes love is not measured by how long someone stays. Sometimes love is measured by how deeply someone changes you. Jennifer was only part of Keanu's life for a few years. But those years mattered. Their daughter's life was incredibly short. But that life mattered. Because every person we love leaves something behind. A memory, a lesson, a piece of themselves that stays with us. And maybe that is why Keanu never speaks about his pain with anger. Because he does not see those moments only as things he lost. He sees them as people and experiences that shaped him. There is a quiet strength in that, to remember without becoming trapped in the past, to love without fear, to continue without forgetting. That is a rare kind of courage. But perhaps the biggest misunderstanding about Keanu Reeves is that people think he became humble because he had success. The truth may be the opposite. He became successful because he remained humble. His pain taught him empathy. His struggles taught him patience. His losses taught him appreciation. And those qualities connected with millions of people around the world. Because deep down, everyone understands pain. Everyone knows what it feels like to lose something. Everyone knows what it feels like to search for meaning during difficult times. That is why Keanu Reeves feels different. He does not represent perfection. He represents survival. He represents the idea that broken moments do not have to create a broken person. But there is still one final question. After everything Keanu Reeves experienced, after losing the people he loved, after facing some of the darkest moments imaginable, how did he find the strength to open his heart again? How did he continue believing in love? How did a man who experienced so much tragedy become someone known for kindness and hope? The answer reveals the most powerful lesson of his entire journey, because the real story of Keanu Reeves is not about what life took away from him. It is about what pain could not take away. His ability to love, his ability to care, his ability to remain human, and that final realization is what makes his story unforgettable. The greatest tragedy in Keanu Reeves' story is not that he experienced loss, because loss is something every human being eventually faces. The greatest tragedy would have been if the pain had changed him into someone he was never meant to become, if the heartbreak had destroyed his ability to love, if the suffering had taken away his kindness, if the darkness had convinced him that the world was not worth caring about. But that never happened. And that is the reason millions of people around the world admire him. Not because he is famous, not because he is wealthy, not because he has starred in some of the biggest movies in history. People admire Keanu Reeves because after everything life gave him, and everything life took away, he still chose to be a good human being. Think about that for a moment. Anyone can be kind when life is easy. Anyone can smile when everything is going perfectly. Anyone can be generous when they have no reason to be angry. But what happens when life breaks your heart? What happens when you lose something you cannot replace? What happens when you experience a pain so deep that nobody else can truly understand it? That is where character is revealed. And Keanu Reeves showed the world something powerful. Pain does not decide who you become. You decide. Two people can experience the same tragedy. One person allows it to create hatred. Another person allows it to create compassion. The pain may be the same, but the choice afterward changes everything. Keanu chose compassion. He chose understanding. He chose love. And maybe that is the biggest lesson hidden inside his tragic love story. Love is not only about the happy moments. It is also about what remains after the happiness disappears. The memories, the lessons, the impact, the way someone changes your life forever. Many people spend their lives trying to avoid pain. They think pain is something that only destroys. But sometimes pain can also transform. It can make you see people differently. It can make you appreciate simple moments. It can make you stop wasting time on things that do not matter. Keanu's journey reminds us that life is fragile. The person sitting beside you today, the conversation you are having today, the moments you think are ordinary today, could become the memories you would do anything to experience again tomorrow. So appreciate people while they are here. Say the words you are afraid to say. Spend time with the people who matter, because the truth is, we often realize the value of a moment only after it becomes a memory, and Keanu Reeves understands that better than most. His story is not a story about a man who lost everything. It is a story about a man who lost some of the most important things in his life, but refused to lose himself. That is a different kind of victory, a quieter victory, the kind that does not come with trophies, the kind that does not appear on magazine covers, the kind that happens inside a person's heart. For years, people have looked at Keanu Reeves and seen a Hollywood star, but when you understand his story, you see something much deeper. You see a man who knows what suffering feels like, a man who understands loneliness, a man who has experienced heartbreak, and yet, he still chooses kindness. That is why his smile feels different, because it is not the smile of someone who has never suffered. It is the smile of someone who has suffered, and still believes there is something beautiful left in life. There is a powerful quote often associated with the idea of resilience. Sometimes the people who are the strongest are the ones who have survived the hardest battles. And Keanu Reeves represents that idea, not because he never fell, but because he kept standing. Not because he never cried, but because he kept moving. Not because he never felt broken, but because he refused to let broken moments define him. His love story with Jennifer Syme was heartbreaking. The loss of their daughter was unimaginable. The pain that followed was something no person should ever have to experience. But their story also reminds us of something important. A love can be meaningful even if it does not last forever. Some people enter our lives for a short time, but leave a permanent impact. Some moments end, but they never truly disappear. They become part of who we are. And perhaps that is how Keanu carries the people he lost, not by living only in sadness, but by carrying their memory through the person he became, a kinder person, a more thoughtful person, a person who understands that everyone is fighting a battle we cannot see. Today, Keanu Reeves continues inspiring people not because he has a perfect life. He inspires people because his life is real. It contains happiness, it contains pain, it contains success, it contains loss. Just like everyone else, the difference is how he responded. When life gave him reasons to close his heart, he opened it. When life gave him reasons to become angry, he chose peace. When life gave him reasons to stop believing, he continued. And maybe that is the final lesson from his story. You cannot control every chapter of your life. You cannot prevent every loss. You cannot protect yourself from every heartbreak. But you can control what kind of person you become after those moments. Your pain can become your prison, or it can become your teacher. Your past can become a weight that holds you down, or it can become a foundation that makes you stronger. Keanu Reeves' story teaches us that the human spirit is incredibly powerful, even after tragedy. Even after heartbreak, even after losing the people we love, there can still be hope, there can still be kindness, there can still be love. Because the most beautiful thing about life is not that it is perfect. Life is beautiful because even after the darkest nights, the sun still rises. And maybe that is why the world feels connected to Keanu Reeves, because behind the famous actor, behind the action hero, behind the quiet celebrity, there is simply a human being. A person who has loved deeply, a person who has lost deeply, a person who continues walking forward. And perhaps that is the real secret behind his quiet smile. It is not a smile from someone who has never known pain. It is a smile from someone who knows pain very well, and still chooses to believe in tomorrow. If this story touched your heart, remember one thing: be kind, because you never know what someone is carrying. Value the people around you, because time is the one thing we can never get back. And keep moving forward, even when life becomes difficult, because sometimes the strongest people are not the ones who never break. They are the ones who break, heal, and choose to shine again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more powerful human stories that reveal the emotions, struggles, and hidden journeys behind the people the world thinks it knows. A story of love that arrived like a miracle and disappeared like a nightmare. A story of a man who had everything the world could offer: fame, success, millions of fans, and a legendary career. Yet there was one thing he wanted more than anything else, something money could never buy. A simple life, a family, someone to come home to. Because sometimes the people who make the world smile are the ones who are silently fighting the deepest battles. And Keanu Reeves knows that pain better than almost anyone. Most people see him as the action hero from blockbuster movies, the unstoppable assassin from John Wick, the legendary hero from The Matrix. the Hollywood star who became famous around the world. But what if the biggest battle Keanu Reeves ever fought was not on a movie set? What if his hardest fight was against loneliness, heartbreak, and the kind of loss that changes a person forever? Because behind the cameras, behind the red carpets, behind the millions of dollars, there was a man trying to survive moments that would break many people. And the most surprising part? He never turned bitter. He never used his pain as an excuse to become cold. Instead, he became kinder, more humble, more human. But how does someone survive losing the people they love most? How does a person continue smiling when life keeps taking away the things they care about? And why did one relationship change Keanu Reeves forever? This is the story the world rarely sees. The tragic love story of a man who discovered that sometimes the greatest love stories are not the ones with perfect endings. They are the ones that leave a permanent mark on your soul. Think about a moment in your own life. A moment when you lost something important. Maybe it was a friendship that ended. Maybe it was someone you loved walking away. Maybe it was a dream that never happened. Most people know what it feels like to lose something. That empty feeling, the silence after a phone call ends. The room that suddenly feels too quiet. The memories that appear when you least expect them. The strange pain of knowing that life continues. Even when your heart wants everything to stop, Keanu Reeves experienced that feeling in a way most people could never imagine. Born in Beirut, Lebanon in 1964, Keanu's early life was not the easy Hollywood dream many people imagine. His childhood was filled with constant change, different countries, different schools, different challenges. His family moved often, and stability was something he rarely experienced. His father left when Keanu was young, and his relationship with him became distant. His mother worked hard to support the family, moving from place to place while raising her children. As a child, Keanu learned something early. Life does not always give you what you expect. Sometimes you have to adapt. Sometimes you have to keep moving even when you do not know where you are going. But those difficult years quietly shaped the person he would become. A person who understood struggle. A person who noticed the pain of others. A person who never forgot what it felt like to be searching for a place where he belonged. When Keanu entered the world of acting, nobody expected him to become one of the biggest movie stars on earth. He was not the typical Hollywood personality. He was quiet, different, almost mysterious. While many actors chased attention, Keanu avoided it. He did not seem interested in proving he was important. He just wanted to tell stories. And slowly, the world noticed him. Movies started changing his life. His name became famous. Millions of people recognized his face. But success has a strange way of hiding what is happening behind the scenes. The world was watching Keanu Reeves rise. But nobody knew that life was preparing some of his darkest moments. In the late 1990s, when Keanu was reaching a new level of fame, he met a woman who would completely change his life. Her name was Jennifer Syme. And for a moment, it seemed like Keanu had finally found something he had been searching for his entire life. Not fame, not money, not popularity. Something much deeper, a real connection. A person who understood him. A person who saw Keanu Reeves, the human being. Not Keanu Reeves, the movie star. Their relationship was private. Unlike many Hollywood couples, they did not turn their love into a public performance. They lived quietly. They enjoyed simple moments. And for Keanu, those simple moments mattered, because after years of uncertainty, he finally had a feeling many people spend their entire lives searching for home. But sometimes, the happiest moments of life can be followed by the hardest ones. And nobody knew that Keanu's greatest happiness was about to become his greatest pain. In 1999, Keanu and Jennifer were expecting their first child. For many people, this would be the beginning of a new chapter, a dream becoming reality, a family being created, a future being built. But before they could experience that joy, their lives changed forever. Their daughter, Ava Archer Syme Reeves, was stillborn. A moment that no parent ever wants to experience. A moment where dreams disappear before they even begin. The excitement of preparing for a baby. The plans, the hopes, the future they imagined, all gone. And suddenly, Keanu and Jennifer were forced to face a pain that words cannot fully describe. The loss of a child is not just losing a person. It is losing a future that you already started imagining. It is losing memories that never got the chance to happen. The first steps, the first words. The first birthday, all the moments they dreamed about, would never come. And for Keanu, this tragedy created a wound that would stay with him. But the story did not end there, because grief has a way of changing relationships. Sometimes it brings people closer. Sometimes it creates a distance that nobody can explain. Keanu and Jennifer struggled with the pain differently. The heartbreak affected them both, and eventually their relationship ended. But even after they separated, the tragedy connected them forever. Because they were two people carrying the same invisible pain. Two people who lost something they could never get back. For Keanu, this was one of the darkest periods of his life. But what happened years later would make the world understand just how much pain he had been carrying. Because the story of Keanu Reeves was not finished. The universe had another devastating chapter waiting, and this time, the loss would be even more shocking. Because sometimes life does not take away your happiness slowly. Sometimes, it takes everything in a single moment. And the world was about to discover the heartbreaking truth behind the quiet smile of Keanu Reeves.